listening to the After Movie Diner with your host, Jon Cross.
In the world of married podcasting couples, my guests this episode stand tall. Well, at least the man does. Too tall, really. It's a little weird, to be honest, but we'll get to that. Sure, when it comes to married podcasting, there's Betty and Bertie Pinochle from Idaho with the Where the Hell Are My Eye Drops, Betty podcast, and Jeff, Joan, Karen, Nicola, Armadillo-Faced Ethel, and Sandra, Sally Ann, the Wardenstorff Mormon family podcast, all about the best way to polish your tabernacle. And who could forget the Birkenstokers, Alan and Alan, who have a tremendous show all about nose maintenance and chickens. But really, couples podcasting is a wasteland of needless marital advice, arguments about dentistry, and how to make ratatouille while attempting foreplay in an effort to reignite the fire of so many dwindling flames. Not so, however, for the triumphant couple we have on this show. Forged in the catacombs of the non-existent Asian temple aloft a windy and craggy mountaintop in Southern California, with ninja stars secreted underneath their flowing ceremonial mystery robes of strength, there is nothing about the ancient Japanese art of flinging yourself about golf courses that these two don't know about. Whether it's how to properly wax your nunchucks, the best lubricant for katanas, or just what the brown blazered Christ are the ingredients of V8 drink for lascivious aerobic instructors, these two have the knowledge and more. If you found yourself stranded, weirdly and obviously French, badly imitating a New York businessman in Japan, when a prostitute you pick up in a bar loses her head to vicious ninjas, you would want my guest this week to whisk you away to a secluded island to learn rudimentary sword techniques and water pail carrying from a drunk old man they keep around to draw Sharpie mustaches on while he's asleep. You may have read his writing and interviews on the little-known Film School Rejects website, and you have definitely read her excellent reviews and articles on the towering and hugely successful After Movie Diner website. If you've visited the Winchester Alamo Draft House, you've probably sat there picking at your kale and goji berry flavoured popcorn and thought, who are these people and when is my movie starting? And in all seriousness, I hope that you have listened to the tremendous In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Yes, because it's one of the very best podcasts out there, but also because it so often plugs the After Movie Diner website, which, as I said before, you should almost definitely be looking at. It's the mouth dork and the wife dork themselves, the two and only Brad and Lisa Gullickson. Sir, madam, good evening, good day, good night, goodbye, and welcome.
Hooray! That was spectacular. I think you should do it again, because I loved it that much.
3 minutes of absolute nonsense, courtesy of me.
Yes, but it was nonsense related to us, and we love it.
Indeed, indeed. And my sly digs at the fact that Brad's podcasting and writing achievements have so far exceeded my own.
Oh, no.
I think it's the height difference that does it. Those tall people, they've got it so easy.
They really do. And us mere 5'11" men just, I don't know, we pale in comparison, I guess.
It's all the V8
shadow.
juice I drink.
It's all the V8 juice that Brad luxuriously pours about his neck and chest.
Yeah. Well, he knows how I like it. Like gazpacho.
Indeed. So it has been a long time since we had Brad on the show. Listeners of the After Movie Diner will hopefully remember him talking about Philly Comic-Con on one of our earliest Philly Comic-Con episodes, and also a double bill of William Shatner films that we did, I think, probably 3 or 4 years ago now, I think, Brad. And Lisa, people, as I said, will know from the writing on the website. This is the first time Lisa's been on the show and the first time they've been on together. So how does it feel?
Spectacular. Just absolutely wonderful. Thank you for having us.
She's recording in the other room, so we're very separate at the moment.
I see. So it's we're all individuals.
For once. As a female, for once, it's nice to be my own person in a separate room.
Exactly, and you can do and say whatever you want, Lisa. Don't be tied down by the patriarchy on this podcast.
Never. Down with you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just fantastic to have you guys on the show. Do you guys do many guest spots on other podcasts?
We've both been on the People I Think Are Cool podcast, which is a spectacular podcast that interviews creatives by Liz Reed.
I think I listened to that. I think I've listened to your episodes of that show. Yes, indeed. But you were on separately, though, right?
Yes. Have we ever done a guest spot together, Brad? I don't think so.
just every week on our own podcast.
That's right. We're guests on our own podcast.
It is a fantastic show. I've been listening more and more, but I definitely listen to the Fistful episodes because they're always fun because I'm always sat there making my own list in my head.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you should tweet them at us.
There's not a lot of Jon Cross for our Justice League podcast, I got to say. I don't think you'd like that too much.
I just haven't. I haven't got on with the DC universe except for Wonder Woman, which hands down I felt to be the best sort of superhero comic book movie that I've seen probably in 5 or 6 years.
Well, we'll just have to beg to differ on that one.
Oh, you guys weren't fans?
We liked it fine, but the best in the past 8 years? I don't want to start a fight
Don't
or
say
anything.
it. The past 5 to 6 years, the last comic book movie that I think, I mean, Guardians was great. The first Guardians was great.
Yeah.
But I still think the last, like, truly awesome one, to my taste, was Iron Man 3. Just because that's who I am. And I also think it was one of the few that have actually talked about the characters behind the mask in the best possible way of doing that without being too overly emotional and dramatic and melodramatic. So I really liked that one. Guardians I thought was a really great romp. But sort of since then, I haven't been a huge fan of the stuff that's been coming out of Marvel. And I've never liked any of the DC ones since the Dark Knight. And even the Dark Knight, I'm like, there's sort of big problems with it. But I mean, it's still the best Batman film that we have. The Dark Knight Rises was awful. In my humble opinion.
We could sidetrack, I'm a great defender of many of the DC movies that people do not like, but we don't have all night. I'm here for the ninjutsu, the art of invisibility. Let's do this.
The ability to transport your ninja soul from one person to another. And what I always like on a podcast is when my guest steers me back and my ranting back to what we should really be focusing on.
I just don't want to talk anymore about why I love Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, because I sound like a maniac.
No, it's fine.
And I just need to...
It's fine. All opinions count.
I have to free myself.
All opinions count, my friend. It's all good. There is no judgment here in the halls of the After Movie Diner. But let us get on to the subject in hand. It is NinjaVember. We are all sat here, fat, full of turkey, stuffing, gravy, mashed potatoes, yams, turnip, all the good things. And we have ventured down the road of 2 particularly interesting and exciting ninja movies, one of which I had never heard of, called The Hunted, starring everyone's favorite Highlander and mine, Christopher Lambert, and from 1995 or 1991, I'm getting that wrong.
95.
95. And then everyone's kind of favorite cult ninja film for people to go, oh yeah, I've seen that movie. It's kind of like the nod, wink, wink kind of ninja film, which is Ninja III, The Domination. It's one of those films where if you're in the know, you're amongst the cool kids kind of thing, I think. Or that's certainly like how I came across it, I think. There was a lot of kind of blogs back in the day, sort of probably 7 or 8 years ago, whenever kind of geek culture sort of started on forums and blogs and things like that would kind of mention Ninja III, The Domination as sort of being the weird one to watch.
It was definitely a quest finding it streaming because we had to watch it via YouTube in 16 parts today.
Oh, really? So you don't have...
neither Lisa and I had ever seen it.
Right.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Ninja 3 is actually on Hulu. I actually found it streaming on Hulu. But I think it's buried. I think it's one of those that it's kind of very, very buried. I don't think I was able to search like Ninja and it come up. Like I had to really dig for it. But I knew that it was on Hulu, I think. But it's also on YouTube. And The Hunted, I had to get a free trial to Cinemax via Amazon. Because the only place The Hunted is streaming is on Cinemax, but I don't want to own Cinemax. I don't want to pay $10 every month for Cinemax. because I'm not 18 anymore, and I realized that porn is free on the internet, so I don't have to get Cinemax anymore. But I found The Hunted on there, and I have to say, and we'll get onto it in a minute, but let's first talk about how you guys, because you recommended The Hunted, how did you come about The Hunted? How did you know about it? Brad, I think you said you were a fan back in the day.
Oh, yeah, I saw it in the theater. My mom and I went and saw it in 95. I believe it was February of 95. And, I was a big fan of, Lambert from the Highlander series. And I was like, okay, here's a ninja movie. Lambert's in it. He's already good at swordplay. We've seen him in The Quickening. Let's see what he's got. And, the big surprise of this film is how he is not very good at being a ninja. He's barely good at being a businessman.
Right. He is not the expected action protagonist of this film. And it's almost more successful because of that.
Absolutely. And so this was a movie that, always stuck in my mind. We're going to talk about that bullet train sequence, but once you've seen that, it's hard to forget. And the swordplay is actually pretty darn decent, but for whatever reason, it never caught off. I think it made like $6 million in U.S. box office at the time, and it just sort of vanished. And, when you were talking about ninja movies and doing something for NinjaVember, this was the first film that popped into my head. And it was so great to also subscribe to Cinemax, my free trial, and watch it again, because it's surprisingly good.
Yeah, and it sort of comes late, I think, in the run of kind of those canon ninja films, which were sort of riding high in the 80s and the early 90s. It's not, Sho Kosugi is nowhere near this film. And he normally crops up in at least one or two of them. And, of course, everyone's favorite ninja, Michael Dudikoff. You imagine that if Canon had made this movie in the prime of 80s canon ninja films, Dudikoff would be the businessman, and Sho Kosugi would be kind of like the master samurai. But as it is, it's not like that at all. It comes in the mid-90s. It's a complete surprise. It's called The Hunted, which I think probably is one of its limitations, because there's like 78 movies called The Hunted. And it doesn't really say what it does on the tin. So I think that, like, if it had been called, Lambert versus the Ninja, or, I don't know, Frenchman in Japan, or something like that, it would have been, I think, much more, or like Bullet Train Ninja, or something. Like, there's lots of things you could have called it.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, right? It would have made it so much better. So Lisa, how did you come to the world of the ninja? What were your kind of first ninja awakenings, as it were?
I was never a big fan of the ninja movie. Like, when I was babysitting, like, I would go to one particular house. I would go babysit Kevin and Megan, and all they wanted to watch was the 3 ninja movies. And they just didn't resonate with me. And so literally just ninja movies very rarely came up until, I guess, a couple... maybe a year or so ago, a couple of friends had us over and we watched Ninja Busters for the first time, which I just recently did a write-up for the aftermoviediner.com website. Visit it today. You will not be sorry. And I really enjoyed the heck out of that. And so when NinjaVember started rolling around, Brad started listing off all of these ninja movies I should be watching, The Hunted included, and I was like, no, I'm just going to write about Ninja Busters, and I did. and then the opportunity came up to be on your beautiful and wonderful and illustrious podcast, and he's like, let's watch The Hunted, and I go, oh, okay, I guess if you're going to make me. And then we did, and it was lovely. I really enjoyed the crap out of it, so I'm happy to talk about it.
Right, and it's also good because I feel like The Hunted, at least, steeps itself in as much of the sort of Japanese tradition of these films rather than fully westernizing it like sort of the canon films tend to do. There is certainly a lot in it that seems to, sure, with a Western eye, but still kind of pay way more homage to the original tradition of samurai and ninja and honor and all those kind of themes far more than, say, something like Ninja 3, The Domination does, or Sho Kosugi's other classics like Pray for Death and Rage of Honor, which are fantastic movies. And I would have to say, Lisa, actually, the funny thing is I've never seen The Three Ninjas, but I understand that it's sort of like a kind of kids ninja film, kind of like trying to ride...
Yeah, it's like a slapstick comedy. One of them has a pie eating contest that I really didn't enjoy.
Right.
I don't remember much about them.
And it's trying to ride the wave of Karate Kid and all that, right? It's trying to kind of come off the back of that. Is that kind of my understanding?
I suppose. I was raised like super conservative, so I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of stuff. So
right.
So I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of like violent teen movies. So ninjas did not come up a lot unless I was out of the house. Three ninjas.
One thing we've learned about conservatives in the last 30 years, they want nothing to do with ninjas.
Nothing to do with... Well, it's complicated.
I was going to make a joke about loving to say the N-word, but I won't go there. They're like, why can't we say that anymore? You can say
they
ninja.
They do enjoy
ninjas
how modestly they're dressed. So, right,
exactly. They do like the fact that the only thing you can see about them is their eyes.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, no cleavage. No ninja cleavage.
No.
Thankfully.
But that will be the movie I make. It'll be called Ninja Cleavage. It'll be starring me and Sho Kosugi.
Well, there's that Pink Panther movie, and I forget which one it is exactly because they all kind of blend into my head. But there's one where he's at the Oktoberfest in Germany, and there is a German assassin who is a large woman with large breasts that have like knives that poke out of the nipples of her top, and she ends up being impaled on a giant pretzel. And I was assuming that if you did like a breast orientated ninja, you would have to have those little ninja darts that they like put people out of, like shoot out of the nipples.
There is a long history of hiding things in bras that women do, so there's all kinds of potential there.
Indeed.
I'm packing ninja stars right now. It's very pokey. It's not comfortable.
It's way more information than we needed, but we're but we're very thankful for it. No, I would only encourage that after watching The Hunted and Ninja 3: The Domination, that your appetite is whetted appropriately so that you go back and watch some of my personal favorite Sho Kosugi movies, because he to me is the pinnacle of ninja. Brad, do you have a pinnacle of ninja that you would kind of hold aloft as the key ninja of your youth or upbringing?
Well, the key ninja of my youth was Michael Dudikoff. I mean, the American Ninja series, I lived for that. And when that other guy replaced him in like American Ninja 3, I was livid.
Right, yeah. Just you can't never replace the Dudikoff. It's just not possible.
No. But I do really love Revenge of the Ninja and Enter the Ninja with Franco Nero. I think that's probably where I first met Kosugi, was through my love of Franco Nero.
Right.
Django eventually leads you to Enter the Ninja, and then you're lost.
And then you're lost in a sea of mustaches and what's that toothy British broad who's in all those movies inexplicably? What's her name?
Yeah, George.
Susan George.
No, Susan George. Susan George.
She's in Crazy Mary, Larry, or whatever that movie is about. And you always go, oh, I really hope this is going to be a good one, and then she kind of crops up, and you're like, you're sort of derailing it for me.
No. Yep.
But I'm obviously, being a big Donald Pleasance fan, I'm a huge fan of the official Django sequel, because Pleasance shows up in it playing a mad Scotsman. Which is, I forget exactly the name of it, but Django with a big machine gun or whatever it is. It's like the mad B movie version of Django, where he's like, it's a bit more goofy, right? It's a bit more like the Grindhouse Django rather than the first one, the first one's goofy, but it's certainly got its spurs dug deep into spaghetti western lore. But the official sequel with Nero is a bit all over the place, I seem to remember. But joyous because of Pleasance's appearance.
For sure.
For sure. Anyway, I'm derailing it again.
But, getting back... Well, that's what I'm here for, John, to bring your podcast back on track and back to The Hunted. And you talk about how it attempts to honor the tradition, the Bushido code, but it does it all from British Columbia. The whole movie is shot in Canada.
Right, as all good ninja films should be, really.
Well, and the thing is like when you compare the look of The Hunted to Burbank's Ninja III: The Domination, British Columbia looks like a pretty good Japan.
Yeah, it actually, it looks authentic enough, and they bother to do some really nice sets so that it looks like the kind of Japanese tea house style rooms and things like that. Like, they actually, I think there's genuinely kind of love and effort and energy put into The Hunted in a way that certainly someone who had never heard of it like myself coming to it, I was completely surprised by, and pleasantly and happily surprised by, because I was like, this is shot really well, this is written perfectly decently, and the action in it is fantastic, and the setting and the setup and all the rest of it is kind of beautifully done. Like, I wanted to kind of poke fun at it maybe, but there's not a lot to poke fun at apart from sort of Lambert, really, because he is this kind of 6-foot Frenchman goon just with a weird face, knocking about this Japanese ninja movie. But it's quite fun.
And they never acknowledge that he is French. Nope. He is a New York businessman, and it's so odd to me that they don't recognize his foreignness, or at least his un-Hollywoodness. Yeah,
and it's made by The Hunted is written and directed by the wondrous J.F. Lawton. That has had just an incredible, because everyone will know him, or he certainly rose to fame because he wrote Pretty Woman, which was like his one big hit. But Under Siege, I guess, was his other big hit. But he's also written...
Yeah, Under Siege, yeah.
He's also written mad stuff like Pizza Man, which I actually rented and watched, starring Bill Maher. But he did the cult success Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death, which also features Bill Maher. He wrote Under Siege and Under Siege 2 for my favorite and yours, Steven Seagal. He wrote Blank Man, which is just such a weird addition to his resume. He worked on, the incredibly pro-feminist VIP, starring Pamela Anderson, and the even more feminist and starring Doug Tilley's favorite actor, Eric Roberts, DOA, Dead or Alive, which is just an action film to behold if you haven't seen it.
a real treat. He's the creator of VIP.
Yes.
To go from Pretty Woman to VIP. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's good. I mean, I can only imagine that Julia Roberts wasn't available. So he was like, well, who is Julia Roberts-esque? And they landed on Pamela Anderson. That's probably what happened. And he's done nothing since 2008. Except probably living high on his Blank Man money, I would imagine. That's probably what he's doing.
You know what? Of his screenplays, honestly, the ones that I really do cherish are Blank Man and The Hunted. Those are my two favorite movies of his.
And it is surprising that a Westerner, I thought a Westerner made this movie. And do you know what it reminded me of in a weird way? It reminded me sort of the Wolverine, the Hugh Jackman Wolverine Goes to Japan movie. It kind of weirdly reminded me of that. I mean, obviously, Hugh Jackman is slightly more of the protagonist in that movie than Christopher Lambert is in this movie. But it was certainly one of those where I felt like it was authentically cast around the leading Western protagonist. You know what I mean? And the action in it felt authentic.
Well, what's interesting about The Hunted is for so much of the film, Lambert is weak. He gets his throat slashed. He gets a couple shuriken tossed into his arms, and he's hobbling around for most of the movie. And the stars of the film are really, the bad guy Kinjo, played by John Lone, and the sensei Yoshiro Harada, who's famous from so many Japanese classic and not so classic films.
And he has
it
the
really
best
isn't
hair.
until
He has the very best hair.
So great. and it's really not until the end when Lambert becomes the last samurai. And, that's like the real pain for me is when he finally does pick up the blade and he can go toe-to-toe with Kinjo. But while Lambert is pushed to the sideline.
In Kinjo's defense, he is full of holes. Like, he's been stabbed multiply and bleeding. That is the only way that Lambert would get the upper hand on him.
And he's left-handed now.
Yeah. And I also think that one of the shame about the movie, certainly in terms of Lambert's progression, is that we get a little bit of the kind of learning from the drunken master montage, a little bit of him like carrying the water pails up the thing and trying out the sword and chopping the apple. And you can't help but think that Kill Bill 2 has a lot to thank this movie for. Although I'm well aware that obviously these are tropes of other Japanese films. But it's a shame we don't get a full-blown, hair rock themed training montage. Like, it would be really great to have the drunken master trains the weird speckly Frenchman guy in montage. Like, I would really have loved that. Like, just gone full blown Rocky IV kind of thing with him running up and down mountaintops carrying various weaponry and things like that. That would have been really the cherry on the icing on the cake for this movie, I think.
I kind of enjoyed that he wasn't trained at all, and that it was not about him getting Kinjo, and that was just kind of just how it ended up being because he had Karina's soul attached to him. He ended up finishing the job, but it was never they tried to make it that it was never the expectation that he was going to be the hero. Yoshiro Harada was supposed to be the hero up until he lost his mind and his direction.
Yeah, and obviously his wonderful wife, played by Yoko Shimada, Mieko Takada is her name in the movie. She's excellent, and I love the sweet little kind of moment they have at the end between her and Takeda, who is Sensei, who is kind of saying, she says, I will happily die for you, or something along those lines. And doesn't he say something like, you don't have to, or you shouldn't, or don't die for me, or live for me, or something like that? And there's this nice little moment. But let's very quickly, as we're delving into this movie now, I'm just going to give a quick recap. And I kind of mentioned this in my intro of you guys, but just so that people who haven't seen The Hunted kind of know what we're talking about. Very quickly, Christopher Lambert is a French New York businessman who winds up in Japan, picks up Joan Chen, a prostitute, at a bar. He doesn't know that she's a prostitute. He takes her to listen to some drums. And then they go up to her room where they make some mad, wild, hot tub love. He then leaves and forgets his key, goes back to get his key only to find her room filled with ninjas. She gets beheaded. He calls the police. He gets, as Brad said, a ninja star and stuff thrown at him. The ninjas all leave. They think he's dead. He gets put in hospital. He's not dead. He meets up with the sensei and his wife, and they ferret him away on a bullet train, fight lots of ninjas, get him to an island, and on the island he is trained by the drunken master in some form of swordplay. And it all turns out, in the end, that there is a twist, and there's honor, and there's history, and there's rivalry, and there's all sorts of good stuff that needs to be dealt with. And Christopher Lambert finds himself in the middle of all that turmoil, let's say. And that's kind of, I think you would have gathered that, but I just kind of wanted to fill in the blanks for people. So Lisa, Brad's talked a bit about sort of how he came to the movie and stuff. What were your first thoughts when he was talking to you about The Hunted and kind of giving you an outline of it? Like, what were your first thoughts about it? And then what did you think when you finally saw the film?
I mean, beyond the title, I went into the movie sight unseen. We had actually tried to start watching the movie together, but I'm pretty famous for if we start a movie after 9, I'm gonna fall asleep during it. So we had started the movie, but it was far too late for me. And it was after Thanksgiving, where we had 2 Thanksgiving dinners, one at his parents' house and then one at my parents' house. So I was like tryptophaned out. So I was not forced. I had the pleasure of rewatching it the next morning by myself, and I loved absorbing the movie in that way with very little expectation. I expected it to be really cheesy and hokey, perhaps something fun in that way, but it turned out to be just a way better movie than I expected in general. Like you mentioned, it's shot beautifully. It's an interesting story. I particularly love the music. All of the music was done by Kodo, which is a taiko drumming ensemble that's actually fairly well known. And I went to music school, and I was a huge dork for world music, and so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I just really enjoyed the movie overall.
Yes, who is the famous Japanese musician who does the score of this film? I'm trying to find his name on IMDb. I know it, but I would hate to want to try and pronounce it without. Motofumu Yamaguchi, right? He does some of the music on this film, and he's famous, right? I've heard of his name before. He does a lot of this stuff.
Oh, cool. I mean, I didn't know that, but I did recognize a lot of the traditional instruments, the shakuhachi, the flutes, and of course the beautiful drums. So I really liked that.
And Brad, how long had it been since you saw this movie, and did it live up to your memory, or did it excel based on your memory?
I mean, it had been a long time. It had been at least since the 90s when it came out on video, because I did have a VHS copy of this back in the day. And it absolutely lived up to my memory of it. I was afraid it was going to be more problematic than it ended up being, from a gaijin coming in and kicking ass point of view. But I thought it really did. As we were saying earlier, it did justice to its interpretation, and the Japanese actors that were in the film, they really it was really their story for the most part.
Right, and it didn't feel, obviously a lot of these things can either feel silly. There's always that line in modern ninja films where they're like, that's ridiculous. There haven't been ninja in Japan for hundreds of years. Like, there's always that line in a ninja movie. And I think it's even in The Hunted, actually. I think
yes.
That's it. The police chief says it just as he gets a ninja arrow through the back. And then he goes, I was wrong, which was my favorite bit in the movie, I think. But just because it was so stupid.
Well, I love that moment where he says it's like if there were cowboys still running around in New York.
Right, of course.
And how this film does set up samurai and ninja as this cowboys versus Indians aesthetic.
Yes.
And I loved all that.
Yeah, no, that was
forgot
awesome.
that. Yeah. I had forgotten that the samurai was a thing, that it was honor versus dishonor. And so it spoke to a lot of things, or it wanted to speak to a lot of things that Kurosawa once excelled at. Let's not give it too much credit, because eventually it does have to become Christopher Lambert's movie.
Right.
But I love how, as the ninjas are attacking, and Sensei, he says, you won't live the night. like we gave him the phone number, but he's not going to have the time to call us back because they will kill him. And that second time they descend upon him, he survives out of sheer luck. That shot of the katana going into the door instead of his flesh, how it gets trapped right between the space and him. It never makes him the Superman.
But there's also this level of spirituality to it too. The fact that, you know, when she and we see this paralleled in Ninja 3, the Domination, that when she passes away, she gives a piece of her spirit to Paul, who is the Christopher Lambert character, and then when Kinjo has his face seen, he loses a piece of his spirit. So there's just kind of this gambling disharmony with everybody being in tune with this spirit world. And I think a lot of Paul's luck comes from the fact that, you know, the woman in the beautiful red dress with, you know, who is like a tiger is protecting him and serving her ends and getting her revenge in a certain way.
That's a really good way to look at it, because there is that aspect of when he's escaping from the hospital or when he's escaping from the ninjas in general that you kind of go, oh yeah, all of a sudden a New York businessman becomes insanely resourceful, where we know that if, I work in an office in New York, and if ninjas suddenly attack my hotel room, I'm dead in 20 seconds. Like, there's no like, oh, I managed to know exactly when to roll and dart out the door. Like, there's none of that. There's none of like me faking me jumping out the window by breaking the glass and then like hiding under the bed or whatever. Like, I've just got none of that in my brain, and especially once my adrenaline kicks in, I probably would just go, oh, I'll chop my head off, make it quick and painless, you know. But so there is that aspect. So it's kind of nice that you saw it as, well, maybe Joan Chen's kind of soul or spirit was kind of guiding him a little bit. Like that I kind of buy. I mean, there was certainly a way they could have made that more. There was a lot of like flashes of her face, I guess, that was meant to kind of indicate that she was sort of inhabiting his thoughts. But that's a nicer way to look at it than just the sort of, well, of course he's exceptionally lucky. He's a businessman from New York who's been pumped full of Asian drugs in the middle of a strange city where he doesn't speak the language. Just to sort of finish what I was saying earlier as well, like, it doesn't feel to me like a lot of these Western movies can. It doesn't feel silly, too silly in the way that the canon films can, and it doesn't feel sort of too condescending. Like, there wasn't any moments in it where you kind of wince and go, oh, did we really behave like that around Asians in the 90s? Oh, like, there was none of those moments. Like, there's some moments in some of the 80s and 70s action films where you're like, oh, really? Oh, that's not very nice. That's a bit cringeworthy, and it makes you kind of shift around in your seat just because of the racial elements or whatever. But in this one, I felt like at least those aspects were kind of done with some level of respect. Now, okay, a Japanese person might watch this and say, no, no, not at all, this is ridiculous. But I guess at least from my diet of mad 80s movies, I didn't feel that way about this. I felt like it was trying to be at least fairly faithful.
Sure.
Absolutely. And the acting caliber is also really strong. We've talked about Kinjo, but I love John Lone as the bad guy. One, he's got the great voice and this general sense of gravitas around him. But the way the film treats him is he assassinates this prostitute because that's his job. But when he learns the reasoning of why he had to kill this person, he's a little disgusted himself. You know, he has his own sense of honor. The film has empathy for his character as well.
Yeah, he says, how much blood do I have to bathe in before I ever become clean, or whatever his line is. And it's that's such an awesome line. Like, it's such a great subtitle to come up on the screen. You're like, oh wow, that's like a real $50 line there. It's just really great. And I love all that stuff. Like, the more kind of history it's steeped in, and the more kind of mythology and like you say, empathy it's steeped in, is I'm happier. I mean, there is one thing. He has this like group of ninjas that all seem to live in the woodland, where they have impromptu meetings where he kills a couple of them each time in as an example to the others. And you always kind of think to yourself, like, there's the bullet train sequence where a whole bunch of ninjas are wiped out, and then there's the sequence at the end where a lot of ninjas are wiped out, and then he kills a couple of them, and you just kind of think to yourself, where is this inexhaustive supply of ninjas that he has, that it's quite all right that he offs a few every now and then, or he sends
in all of the shadows, duh.
Of
That's
course.
where every shadow has a ninja in it in Japan.
Yeah, of course. And every green and brown tree has a nice jet black ninja in it, which makes no sense. Like, one of the few positives you can say about Ninja 3 The Domination is at least the ninja outfit that is worn by the original ninja and then Lucinda Dickey later on, at least blends in with the trees and the sand and the golf course and everything else. Like, it's at least a kind of dusty, deserty, greeny, beige kind of suit, which would make sense. But here the ninjas are, and they're literally guys in black pajamas running through white-walled hospitals. You're like, well, everyone's going to see that. Now, at nighttime, it makes sense. But in daytime on the bullet train, like, I don't know, have some different color ninjas. Come on now.
They put a different costume on.
No, they put
in
on
the bullet train. They've got the white
costume. No, they had their regular like ninja shoes on, and then they just put on like an overcoat, and then they buttoned it up. That's how Paul knew he was in danger, because when he was looking around, he was seeing all these ninja feet padding around the train station. I would be alarmed too, frankly.
But I have to say,
and everybody have these mysterious long bags on their shoulders.
Yeah.
Like katana-shaped satchels.
Yeah. And everyone was, like, clearly wearing ninja outfits.
To
the point where
they're double-breasted, underneath their double-breasted overcoats.
Yeah, whereas any commuter worth their salt would have looked up and gone, ninjas on the train. But I have to say...
Some kind of convention.
The other thing that... I don't know whether it's shocking so much, but it's certainly, like... I don't know why, but you tend to think of definitely like Japanese films and Chinese films sort of being very violent and gory, but the Western kind of counterparts of them don't tend to be in quite the same way. But Ninja 3 The Domination and The Hunted both feature sequences in which mass amount of seemingly innocent bystanders get killed. And in the bullet train sequence, there's like this really sort of mad sequence where these 5 bad ninjas go on the train and just start hacking into morning commuters until the sensei kind of pushes as many of the commuters they can as the back of the train, and then him and his wife kind of hold the rest of the ninjas off. But you definitely see some like carnage in both films, and definitely more so in this one.
This is the reason you watch this movie, is the bullet train sequence. I remember as a kid seeing it on screen, and when Kinjo's lady, his No.2, says, look, we're going to kill all these commuters and show them that, the cult of the ninja is real, and if you cross us, you're all going to pay. And then they just go through car after car, stabbing men and women and, cutting their throats and slashing their backs. And then the panic as it sets through the rest of the train as Sensei, pushes him further to the back. I mean, it's a real terrifying sequence. And when Sensei finally clashes with those ninjas and his suit is being peeled off him with each swipe of the blade, I mean, there's an intensity to that you don't really see in any modern ninja film, but just modern action films in general. There's a real sense that everybody here is in trouble, including our hero.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and especially I think it's to do with like the innocent life. Like, we've definitely seen movies in which, quote unquote, lots of bad guys have sort of been mowed down indiscriminately by, Rambo or someone, or the Expendables or something, where you just see them all because they are, henchmen. Then it's perfectly all right for them to be indiscriminately massacred, essentially, by our good guys. But it's very rare or different, let's say, to see not just one or two innocent bystanders, but swathes of people on the train kind of hacked up and stuff. So, Lisa, you said you didn't sort of grow up watching ninja films and stuff, but sort of in terms of watching action movies now in the last few years, sort of how do you feel about action movies, and how, not just ninja movies, but do you like action films? Do you like, with hindsight, do you now enjoy all the carnage, or is it still something that's sort of new and different to you?
I enjoy a certain amount of carnage. I love, like, with ninja movies or samurai movies, I like hand-to-hand combat where people are fighting face-to-face. I am not going to enjoy a shootout as much as watching people fight.
Right.
Like the bullet train sequence, I really enjoyed, getting to watch, innocent bystanders get hacked up. Fascinating and fun. But also the skill that, the Takedas interacting with each other, their skill in at working as a team, I thought was really fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely, and she feels definitely on his equal to some extent. Maybe not equal with the hand to hand, but like equal in his perception of sort of the defense against the ninjas, I think.
Positively. And to what you were talking about before about like how many innocent people died, I like the fact that both sides did end up having to come to terms with it or answer for it to a certain degree, because Paul later talking to Sensei was like, you called Kinjo to the train, you're responsible for all of those deaths. So that sense of responsibility fell on everyone.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, I mentioned earlier that there was a twist, and maybe I should say spoilers, but, whatever, who cares? It's a 22-year-old movie, but people can hopefully enjoy it nonetheless, because I also think that sort of maybe one of the weakest parts of the scripting was that twist. I mean, I get it, and I think that they dealt with it okay once it came about, but I think that it was sort of a very quick kind of throwaway sequence. And yes, it was sort of part of Paul Racine Lambert's character trying to kind of prove himself and stand up against the sensei and kind of see where he fit and kind of find his place, because we do need that in order for us to kind of make a believable swipe at enjoying the last stand he has against Kinjo. But
I also like the idea of it being like, without having Sensei calling Kinjo and attracting the ninjas to the train. I do like the idea of this being a long-standing grudge and not actually having anything to do with Paul, and Paul just being this piece of bait.
Right, so he's kind of the thing that... He's the thing that sort of lures the sensei out to see, like, oh, wait a minute, the ninjas are still out and about. Great, now here's my time to end this 200-year-old grudge kind of thing. Like, he's his excuse almost.
It's just too bad that ninjas, though they may dress kind of like Batman, terrible detectives. They're never going to be able to find Paul. That's why you have to go and call them and tell them where he is.
He is on the island, by the way. Come quickly. Find the drunk dude with the boat. He will take you here. It's also funny, like, if your whole plan is to fight ninjas and this is your like 200-year-old vendetta, why go to like an obscure island in the middle of nowhere and then have to like lure them to him only for your whole clan of samurai trainees to be wiped out? And again, like, Sensei has had, one presumes, decades to train these guys. Like, why? And then he calls them to the island. Like, why are they not better prepared? Anyway,
I think because samurais have a penchant to just wander off on their own. As soon as a samurai knows something, he just wanders off and starts his own quest. Yeah. Not like ninjas. They like to be together in packs. In packs,
hiding in trees predominantly.
Yeah.
It's also interesting as well, because obviously, like the canon films I keep referencing, the ninja tends to be the hero, which is sort of a bit ridiculous considering they're assassins. But yes, they tend to be the heroes. Sho Kosugi tends to be the hero, the lone ninja against the marauding hordes of bad guys. Whereas in both this and Ninja 3: The Domination, the ninja is definitely a negative symbol. Now, while we do have empathy for Kinjo at a certain point, and while we do understand the different codes and the ninjas are the bad guys and the hunted, and the ninja, the mysterious black ninja, as James Hong calls him in Ninja 3: The Domination, is the bad spirit that has inhabited Lucinda Dickey in Ninja 3: The Domination. So again, it was interesting to kind of see ninjas as the other side of the moral divide, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's funny you get to that island of misfit samurai and how it's really broken down the gender divide, too, because you have male samurai, they get the swords, and female archers.
Yes.
You're not allowed any other weapon except for the bow and arrow.
It's like the elves in Lord of the Rings.
Yes. It's exactly like that.
It's like that. It's like, come on, Orlando Bloom, could you not wield something other than a fucking bow and arrow? And he's like, no, that's my weapon. That's what I'm going to do. It would be so much easier to give you a mystical gun. No, you're not allowed. And that was almost the most funny bit in the bullet train sequence is when Christopher Lambert's like, oh, I know what to do. I'll help them out. I'll use the gun that I stole off the detective. And Sensei's like, no guns, and knocks his gun out the window, which at one point...
And then there's this tremendous suction. Everybody's going to be suddenly they're in an airplane and everybody's going to be sucked out of the train.
With the speed of those bullet trains, I can probably, even a regular train, I think, even a train, a commuter train, maybe not in America, but certainly the commuter train, the high-speed commuter trains we used to take up to London and stuff, even if you had the window open, it would still be pretty crazy. And the bullet train is obviously, I don't know how many hundreds of miles an hour it goes, but it's pretty speedy. I did want to see ninjas' robes being sucked off and stuff. That would have been amazing. Everyone fighting in their underwear because the wind is...
Particularly Junko, because she was a hot ninja.
She was the hot...
With the feather...
Well, and then when she...
the feathered hair, so cute.
Yeah.
And when she cuts her face off, her skin flaps fly into the window.
Yeah.
Ew! That would get stuck to the window. So gross.
And do we think, Brad, that there's an unedited, uncensored, an uncut version where there's more gore and stuff, or do we think this is it?
I would love to think so. No, I think this is it. I think this is it.
They probably
I hope she survives. She becomes the unknown ninja that's just roaming the earth.
Yeah, the sequel to this, the faceless ninja. She's the only one who survived, and she hunts down Christopher Lambert. And then there's this whole face-off thing where she's putting on other people's faces, and it could be really interesting. Get John Woo on that, I think.
Netflix will be.
I have to thank you, Brad, for bringing this movie to our attention. This is definitely one of those films that one of the reasons I've loved doing podcasting since the beginning, because I kind of very quickly made friends around the internet with the kind of people who would show me these movies that I'd never heard of, whether it was yourself, Brad, or whether it was Mo, or whether it was Doug, or whatever. People who would be able to go, oh, have you heard of this movie and that movie? Or even Doc Croson, who's sort of shown me a way more action movies than I'd ever seen, and certainly got me watching stuff. This is one of those movies that I'm thankful to have a podcast for, because not that it's, again, the greatest movie you'll ever see, but it's one of those movies you've never heard of that when you watch it, you're like, why have I never heard of it? And it's one of those that I'll definitely go back and watch again. It was just... for my mind, it is a good, solid, fun, little bit hokey and cheesy, but in the best possible way, but also enough authentic atmosphere for a Western audience without it being too sort of slow and oblique. Because sometimes if you're watching a Japanese film or you're watching a Chinese film and they're talking about these things that to them are very familiar and very historical and very mythological or authentic, that don't necessarily translate because we didn't kind of grow up learning about them. It doesn't go into that territory. It goes into a territory where we can fully understand it and kind of put our emotions and empathize with the characters. And that's one of the things that I really loved about it as well. So to me, this is the kind of movie podcast should be about, and I hope people that after listening to this go find it and figure it out. Brad, give us your kind of summation and your final thoughts about The Hunted.
Well, my watching philosophy when it comes to movies is that as long as a film has one element or one performance or one scene that stands out from the average, then it's worth my time. And if for no other reason, you have to see The Hunted for the bullet train sequence. That it's a necessary scene for an action fan to consume.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And Lisa, give us your summation and final thoughts on The Hunted.
I think The Hunted was thoroughly entertaining all of the way through. I really enjoyed all of the characters. I loved Kinjo. I thought he was just, even though he had this thing where he had to keep his face covered, he was always taking his mask off, throwing caution to the wind. I loved everything with Joan Chen in the beginning as Karina. I think she's absolutely stunning. And the dream sequences, particularly when Lambert was in the hospital and he was like all in black and white and she comes in her beautiful red dress. I just found that to just be visually stunning. And the music is amazing. And the bullet train sequence is, of course, amazing. So I highly recommend it to anybody who hasn't seen it.
I don't know, I've not sort of seen many interviews with Joan Chen, but one has to wonder whether she ever got tired of being cast as the sultry Japanese lady, because she, even in Twin Peaks, she's the incredibly sultry sort of persona. So it's interesting to see that is, in almost every kind of film she gets cast in or TV series she gets cast in, that's kind of her role.
She can't help it. She is like a goddess. Like, you see her in that red dress and you're like, oh no, I think I'm in love. She's beautiful. And, she just has this comportment, like she's, wise and calm. And I just dig her.
Oh, definitely. No, there's definitely one of those things where, on the side of being sort of sultry and attractive and sexy and all those good things, she's also intelligent and strong and, has a passion and has an integrity that's, wonderful. Like, she definitely inhabits that in her characters without really kind of having to do very much. She's just sort of that when you sort of see her. You're just like, oh, okay, she's all of those things. And now I'm just going to, whenever I have to get unchanged, I'm just starting in the tub. I'm just going to undress in the tub, just like she does. She makes it look great. Yeah,
why is all the laundry wet? Oh, I was just getting changed.
I was just stripping for a French New York businessman in my Japanese hot tub. But it did.
Hobbies.
It does, sadly. We covered during our Sleazy Spader springtime series that we did this year. We covered that film where he is. Oh, it's set down south. I forget what it's called now. I want to say it's called Storytelling, but I don't think that's the right name of it. Where he was down south and he gets videotaped having an illicit moment. He's a candidate for a local government, and he gets videotaped having an illicit moment in a hot tub with a Japanese woman. And it did kind of somewhat remind me of that. So I did expect Spader to maybe show up in that sequence with a video camera and be like, "Don't worry, Lambert, I've been here before." But that didn't happen, sadly.
I was thinking of what's the
Where do
movie?
we come?
Madman. That was the hot tub scene I was thinking of. All they had to do was a couple more rotations around the hot tub. Madman.
The slash film.
Oh, right. Yes, indeed.
That is another great hot tub scene.
And of course,
at the end of.
Oh, go ahead, Brad.
At the end of The Hunted, where do we come down on Lambert? You know, we've talked a lot about him and around him, but you know, I grew up with the Highlander series, but he's never been a guy that I gravitate to today, and I'm always kind of, I don't know, resistant to whatever his type of charm actually is.
I don't know. I think he did the trick. He's kind of bland. He's not like,
but
like your sexy leading man.
This film and say I need to watch Night Moves or, you know, Gunmen or any other Lambert movie?
Not really. And it's funny. I've come across people online who, there are certain actors, and it doesn't necessarily mean whether you want to use the word cult or fandom or whatever it is, but like certain people have that thing around them. You know, I have friends of mine, for example, who are mad about like Sam Neill and will watch sort of Sam Neill in anything. Like he's one of those actors, and like myself with James Spader or whatever it is. And I've heard people talk about Christopher Lambert like in those terms, like Lambert has like some kind of thing. But to be honest, like, I've seen him in Highlander, I've seen him in Fortress, I've seen him in this. I never kind of go, oh, I must track down the next Lambert film. I always feel like the films he's in are way better than he actually deserves. Like, that's how I kind of feel about Lambert. Like, I kind of go, he's weird looking. Like, I mean, I'm not predisposed to find a man attractive, but in terms of Lambert, like, I don't look at him and go, oh, I understand, you know, why people might, or why Diane Lane, for example, fell at his feet. I don't really understand that, because he kind of looks weird to me. He kind of looks, like you say, a bit bland, a bit freckly. He weirdly looks like Frankenstein's monster, but with mad lips. Like, that's kind of what he looks like to me.
That's not fair.
Because he's got a weirdly shaped head. Like, his hair doesn't look like it's right on him. Like, it looks like maybe it's a wig. Like, he looks like he's been put together by the bits that were carved off people in Beverly Hills plastic surgeon offices. He just looks weird. Like, I can't put my finger on it. And I don't quite understand, like, the cult of Lambert. Like, it's one of those things that kind of left me at the station, I think. But
and I'm the same way.
Yeah, whereas when someone talks about, like, Rutger Hauer or whatever, I'm like, oh, I totally understand why people love Rutger Hauer. Rutger Hauer's amazing. But when people talk about Lambert, I'm like, I'm not digging films out to have, like, a Lambert-a-thon. It's not something that's happening.
Now, he does have a moment in the last Coen Brothers film, Hail Caesar, where he plays an eccentric German director. And I thought he was well cast for that tiny role.
Yeah, and he also had a very small role in Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, where he looks even weirder because he shaves off all his hair. And what was odd is, in his Wikipedia page, it was like not only did he shave hair, but he had to learn sword fighting because he's like the sword fighting monk in that movie. He had to learn sword fighting for the film. And I'm like, but he's been in the Highlander movies and the Hunted and stuff. Like, I thought Lambert was like the go-to Frenchman for sword fighting. You know what I mean? But apparently not. Like, I was looking up his history, hoping there was some kind of background of martial arts or sword training, or he was like a French fencer or something. Like, I didn't know sort of what the background of Lambert and kind of swashbuckling was, but I hoped there was one, and I couldn't find anything. But he did, he kind of carved out a niche as sort of this action guy, and then became kind of like Night Moves and stuff is like a thriller, right? It's sort of a kind of a softcore thriller kind of thing. I mean, I don't really get it. I don't get the Lambert. I mean, I'm happy that he's out there sort of being French for everybody, but I don't really... I think his name is more fun to say than he is to watch act. And I think that, I mean, I hope the reason why we haven't talked too much about him so far on the episode is because he is not the reason you're watching The Hunted. And it's, you know, the reason why The Hunted did not succeed the way it should have done is because it was probably advertised with his giant forehead and a lot of hoping that it would ride off the back of the Highlander. And you're like, it's not about that. It's all about the wonderful Yoshio Harada and the fantastic John Lone, and even the amazing Yoko Shimada. It's about those actors for me that way more than it is about Lambert. And whoever the guy was who played, is it Masumi Okada who played the detective? He was amazing as well. I liked him.
Yeah, for sure. And you get the impression, like, if they had, I don't know, cast Steven Seagal or whomever in this movie, they would have made the film about themselves, Right. Anybody one tier higher would have taken over the film.
Yes, and therefore, I would give Lambert credit then. I agree with you, Brad, because I would definitely and seriously give him credit that he doesn't make it all about him, and he plays the sort of secondary character with as much gusto as he can. Like, I think he's playing it as strongly as he can, but he's not trying to steal the limelight from these warring Japanese clans. And I think that's to his credit. So does anyone else have any comments or anything about The Hunted before we move over to Ninja 3, The Domination?
Inconsistent use of subtitles drives me nuts. Like, either you're using the subtitles for the Japanese or you're not. You don't get to do both. So that's my closing thought.
Oh, okay. I actually didn't mind that. I liked the fact that the kind of ominous mythologizing was done in Japanese, and then the kind of regular smack talk was done in English. I thought that kind of fit nicely.
But when they did the thing where they were speaking Japanese and then they like zoomed in on somebody's mouth or something, and then all of a sudden they were speaking English, and then the understanding was that they were actually speaking Japanese and you're hearing English, like setting that up early in the film then makes any other time people are speaking English confusing unless it's Lambert. And for some reason, I don't mind reading subtitles, so I don't know. That's just a pet peeve of mine. That's
totally understandable. I would actually say that I was impressed that there was sort of any subtitles in the movie at all, or like there were as many subtitles in the film as there were. But I do know what you mean. But I think at the same time, there are certain, like I say, the sort of deep mythological phrases, such as "How much blood do I have to wash in to get myself clean?" Unless you're a Shakespearean actor and you're doing it very dramatically to the cheap seats, it's very difficult, I think, to deliver a line like that with the gravitas. It's almost better to have it in Japanese and have the subtitle, because then to our ears, for whatever reason, we go, "Oh, that's cool." Like, I don't know why that is, because to a Japanese audience, it's no different than, like I say, some guys spouting it off in English. But to us, for whatever reason, we kind of go, "Oh, that sounds mystical." You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why. That might be, I don't know whether that's a racist thing to say. I hope not. I just mean, to our ears, that's how it comes across, right?
I think I'm going to start, like, using in regular conversation, even monkeys fall out of trees.
Right?
That's going to be my excuse for everything from now on.
It's a fantastic excuse. Listen, I walked into a wall. Even monkeys fall out of trees. I'm going to use that at work every time I do something wrong. That will definitely, hopefully, get me out of lots of disciplinary action.
The After Movie Diner with Jon Cross will return right after this.
Happiness is all around and it starts right here. With your feet on the ground, yes, everywhere you wear. There's a smile in the style of happy shoes.
We'll do it live. F it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Hi, I'm Jay Mayo.
And I'm Marie.
Shut up.
I'm Marie.
Shut up.
I'm Marie Forster.
And we are co-hosts of Hold the Mayo podcast.
Hold the mayo.
Hold the mayo.
All right, give me ham on 5, hold the mail.
We're two local comedians, and here on Hold the Mayo, we talk about all the different things that are going on in our daily lives.
Or in your case, your pathetic dating life.
Or in your case, your obsession with pizza.
Or in your case, your Gatham for Statham.
Yeah? Well, at least I'm not obsessed with Guy Fieri.
At least I'm a gang leader.
No, you're not. You're just always trying to overthrow invisible gangs.
No, I'm cool in the gang.
No, you're... Oh, my God, the puns are the worst.
Mayonnaise, really? That stuff is for sandwiches.
Listen, you guys can find us all across the internet. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and everywhere else that podcast can be found. You can also find us all across social media. We're on Twitter at Hold the Mayo Pod, Instagram at Hold the Mayo Podcast, and of course, we have a Facebook fan page, facebook.com/Hold the Mayo Podcast.
Don't forget, you can also find Jay crying on his couch every single night.
Thank you so much.
F***ing thing sucks.
And just end it with a fart.
Somebody put this Mum for Men in my desk. How should I take it?
Daily. Mum for Men rolls in extra protection that really works.
It works.
Horns make it fun to have clothes.
You charmer. How'd you do it? Apart from my magnetic personality, I think it was the suit that got her going. No, I'm not sure whether it was the lapels, the very fitted jacket, or the flared trousers, really. Now, if it's a stroll by the river in the morning, it could very well be the car-down blazer. With, of course, the off-white raincoat in case of emergency. Or if it's back to lunch with her mummy and daddy, it's all down to the safari suit with a sexy collar. Of course, she thinks I'm loaded. Me, loaded. She doesn't know yet that I go to John Temple and get up to 2 years to pay. Around the same price weekly as 3 or 4 pints. Sandra, darling, be ready for me. I might break loose tomorrow.
Hello, folks. This is a promo for a podcast called The Chris and Chris Show. I'm Chris with a C.
And I'm Chris with a K. The Chris and Chris Show is a movie podcast where myself and my colleague, Chris with a C,
hello,
discuss our thoughts on films from a wide variety of genres, all in our own inimitable style.
Here's what the masses are saying about the show. Funny, irreverent film analysis.
Reviews are great and spot on. Subscribe now.
The Chris and Chris Show is a slickly produced and fun podcast with two gents who have great chemistry.
They sound like two old men.
I don't read that one.
Oh, sorry. Keeps me intrigued and keeps me entertained.
There you have it. What are you waiting for? Head on over to www.wafo.fm.
The audio equivalent of dysentery.
Stop reading the bad ones. What are you doing? Anyway, head on over to wafofm.com. That's WAFUFM.com to check out the show or subscribe to The Chris and Chris Show on iTunes.
Or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Chris and Chris Show. That's Chris with a C, Chris with a K.
Lovely.
The Chris and Chris Show. The biggest load of I've ever heard.
What are you doing?
Welcome to Frankie's Nightclub Ruffo, where Friday night and Sunday night are the nights for discos, where you can disco the night away to the best disco sounds around. Saturday night, and Frankie's opens the door to Ireland's best live bands, with great sounds from different bands weekly. So for a great night out, come to Frankie's Nightclub Ruffo, where fun is our speciality.
You're listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling.
So now we move over to the incredible film Ninja III: The Domination, made by that award-winning director of Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, and other ninja films, American Ninja 2, and Revenge of the Ninja, Mr. Sam Furstenberg. As you can tell, he has a very Japanese-sounding name. And he kind of made his bones, as they say, in the 80s and 90s, directing these kind of mad action films right up to sort of stuff like Cyborg Cop and Cyborg Cop 2, Blood Warriors, American Samurai. He starts off with canon and sort of slightly higher, better known films. Avenging Force, also with Dudikoff, of course, but then kind of slips into straight to DVD stuff or straight to VHS stuff, as it would have been in the early 90s. But anyway, Sam Furstenberg, he makes Ninja III: The Domination, and who on our round table of ninja fans wants to run down the peculiar plot of this one? I'm opening it to the floor.
Oh boy.
Well, I can
Lisa,
give it
you
a
took
shot.
notes.
I did take notes, but my notes are extensive, so this might take the rest of the episode. But I think
I can run through it quickly if people prefer that.
I want to give it a stab, and then you, my gracious editor, you can give me feedback.
Great.
And tell me if I did a good job. So there's this ninja. He's running through the desert. And the cops are after him, and they're shooting at him and stuff, and he's full of holes. Did I not start soon enough? I'm trying to...
Well, I think you got to start with the golf course.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I guess I will refer to my notes. Okay. So now I'm all self-conscious.
Don't be. Don't be.
Okay.
Wing it.
Okay. I can't. Okay, so I guess what happens at the golf course? So the ninja goes to the golf course and he assassinates a guy in a blue polo, right? And that's when the cops, where the cops are chasing him. That makes a lot of sense. So they chase him into the desert and fill him full of holes. He dies. A girl who works for the phone company, climbing telephone poles, she finds his body. He gives her some intense eye contact. And in that eye contact, he transfers his spirit into her.
His Vulcan Katra.
That's right. And then she starts having kind of ninja fits where she ninjas around taking revenge at various police officers. Meanwhile, trying to maintain her tenuous relationship with aggressive cop Billy Seacourt, who forcibly woos her until she just gives up, and then they're dating, and that's the story. And so the rest of the story is Billy and Christy trying to get the ninja out of her.
And that's perfect. And there's two things. First of all, Sho Kosugi, everyone's favorite ninja, comes from Japan. Having had some kind of history with this evil ninja, although we don't quite know what it is because it's never really explained. We just see like a flashback where he's wounded in the eye.
I got the impression that like that ninja had killed his dad while he was chained up to a tree. So he killed his dad and then took his eye.
Again,
that was my impression.
You watched it much closer than I did then, Lisa. And then,
there was a flashback. You were there. I was there.
Yeah, there was a flashback, but it was all I could remember was Kosugi tied to a tree, and then he got a ninja star in his eye. But he does get to
that would make me mad. That would be enough.
That would be enough.
Loss of depth perception. That would be enough for a lifelong vendetta.
Indeed. And it's almost also because it is set up throughout the whole movie that only a ninja can kill a ninja. This is the other mystical bullshit that this movie likes to sling around throughout its running time. So therefore we have to have Sho Kosugi. And also because I think that in general, if you're trying to sell this as a sequel to Enter the Ninja and Revenge of the Ninja, which it isn't, by the way, in any stretch of the imagination at all. It's completely bizarre that it's called Ninja 3. It makes no sense because Revenge of the Ninja is not called Ninja 2, The Revenge, so it doesn't make any sense at all. But if you're going to sell it as a sequel, you kind of have to have the star... you have to have the star of those ninja films, or at least he's the antagonist in Enter the Ninja. He's then the star in Revenge of the Ninja. He is then the second lead or third lead, I guess, in this Sho Kosugi, who kind of becomes synonymous with these ninja movies. So you have to have him. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I wonder in your notes, Lisa, do you have it written down anywhere? Why, oh why, is the evil Black Ninja, as James Hong calls him, even though he's wearing kind of a greeny beige, why the evil ninja is assassinating everyone at the beginning of the film in the first place? Do we know, or is it just meant to be he's on a routine assassination and the police get in the way?
Yeah, that's what I assumed, that he was doing his job. He's a
I don't
mercenary.
think they ever say who those guys were at the beginning of the film.
They look
those
evil,
poor golf.
though, right? They look like they had it coming.
They look like possibly Trump friends, like friends of Trump.
Exactly.
Wandering
You don't
around the
have
golf course.
That many suited caddies, unless you're up to something that is no good.
Yeah, unless you're either drug dealing or working away to screw over a mom and pop business to be engulfed by your corporate empire while on the golf course. So I'm going to assume that's probably the reason. Otherwise, I can't think, because I was watching the whole movie and I watched this sort of in bits. I'd seen it before, actually, on the big screen at the Alamo, not the Alamo, sorry, at the Anthology Film Archives in New York. I'd seen this on the big screen, and it was an absolute joy to see it on the big screen. But I saw it in bits again, kind of swatting up again for this episode, and I was like racking my brains. I was like, this all, okay, it's evil ninja, possesses aerobics instructor / phone operator, woman who's da-da-da-da-da. I get all that business, but like, why was he evil in the first place? Like, what was all that going on? And I was racking my brain trying to figure it out. But I'll take your, anyone who's wearing a blue blazer with brass buttons and playing golf is inherently bad in my book. So, yeah, you're probably right.
And he's a ninja with a mustache.
Uh-huh.
You don't see too many mustache ninjas.
It's
That's
just
how you
him
know
and
he's
Franco
evil.
Nero. Yeah, but Franco Nero is good. Oh, it's not just
that's
him.
true, yeah.
Richard Harrison, who filmed either 1 or 2 ninja films for the great Godfrey Ho, and Godfrey Ho ended up putting him in about 8 different films, like editing in footage. But Richard Harrison is another often mustachioed ninja in films. But
There goes my theory.
yeah, but again, him and Nero are both Western men with mustaches. Whereas this ninja is an Asian gentleman with a mustache. I don't know whether that's a difference, but it is what it is.
I think it looks smart.
It's good.
I like it.
I think the mustache is a sleek and appropriate facial adornment for a budding ninja. So don't worry. Like, I don't think there's any rules. It's not like baseball or anything where the Yankees have to shave their beards off, much to my annoyance and chagrin. This way, you can wear facial hair and be a ninja. Because it's covered up anyway.
I'm kind of disappointed that Lucinda Dickey did not get, when she became a ninja, did not get his mustache.
That would have been amazing if they'd had Dickey running around the whole time pouring V8 juice onto a large bushy upper lip caterpillar. That would have made this film even better than it was, I think. But no, it's part Poltergeist / Exorcist meets Flashdance / Perfect meets ninja films. That's kind of what, like, it's kind of canon saying, what have we had success with? Okay, let's throw that all into a pot and do that. And I was halfway through, like, when the ninja ghost kind of shows up and starts flinging stuff around her apartment. I was like, oh, can I be kind to the movie and kind of say this has its roots in Japanese ghost folklore? And I'm like, no, this has its roots in what's a fun sequence? I don't know. Let's throw her fridge about her apartment mystically. That's what it has its roots in. Brad, when did you first? Well, no, you said this was the first time of watching it, right? Ninja 3: The Domination.
Yes.
For both of us.
For both of you.
Indeed.
So why don't you both tell me sort of what your history was at all with either canon films, canon ninja films, or Sho Kosugi films, like somewhere in that ballpark, and go.
You go first,
Well,
Brad.
I certainly grew up on canon films. I mean, I love everything that they do. And I had seen, Revenge of the Ninja, Into the Ninja, all those American Ninja films. But for whatever reason, this one, I don't know, didn't show up on USA Up All Night or whatever cable TV that I was watching in the 80s. But as I got older, it certainly was one of those movies that fellow film freaks would talk about. Our buddy Ryan Sears is a huge fan of this film, and when that Canon documentary came out a couple years ago, Electric Boogaloo. This featured prominently in the middle chunk of that documentary.
Yeah.
And I had to see it. And yet I never put out any of the energy or effort to do so until this very podcast.
Well, because I think there's something to do with, or there certainly was for me, I don't know, Brad, but when you kind of got online and started kind of going through forums and things like that. I mean, obviously I gravitated towards sort of people who were talking about things that I already knew and loved. But then the odd movie that would come up where people were talking about it either in a jokey way, an ironic way, a cult way, whatever it was, it almost put me off the films. I mean, I'm one of the few people who to this day has never, although I'm fully aware of what it is and the scenes in it and everything, I've never sat down and watched The Room because I got so sick of everyone kind of talking about it and ripping into it and stuff like that. It's like when I finally saw Samurai Cop and I'm like, yes, it's a kind of silly, like not particularly well-made movie, but my instinct of watching Samurai Cop was not to sit around and kind of ironically laugh at it. My instinct watching something like Samurai Cop was to kind of get into it and enjoy it for its kind of lunacy. And so there was sort of a long period of time when not so much with Ninja 3 because like I say, that it kind of came on my radar a bit later, and then I had the opportunity to see it on the big screen shortly after the Blu-ray came out, and I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of a fun genre mashup film, and I enjoyed it, and I certainly didn't derisively laugh at it. It's not that kind of thing for me. Like, I enjoy all its kind of kooky madness, but there's certainly those movies that were kind of being knocked around when I first got into film forums and film discussions that I'm like, too many people are kind of like ironically loving this film, and I can't kind of get into that too much. I'm a bit less strict on that now, and I've kind of loosened my uptightness a little bit on that. But initially, that would put me off a lot of these kind of films. So I don't know that I dived into this straight away.
Well, we're very like-minded on that front because, again, growing up on them, you do treat American Ninja in the same regard you would treat The Godfather or Alien. You love all these things unconditionally. It's not until you're in your teens where you start to discover that a film can actually disappoint you. And so when I missed Ninja 3 and it comes up in the conversation the way that something like The Room would come up as, oh my gosh, you have to see this crazy, crappy movie, I don't gravitate towards that emotion.
Right.
And I also had never seen The Room until we had Greg Sestero on our podcast. And I said, well, if he's going to be on our podcast, I better watch The Room.
Right.
And I do have to say it lives up to its atrociousness.
I'm sure.
So when you do want to put yourself through it.
No, my thing with The Room now is that one of the people that I cannot absolutely abide for any love nor money, James Franco, is now metally, post-ironically making a meta post-ironic movie about it with all his fucking stoner friends, and I'm like, right, this is like Sharknado 2, the sequel. Like, that's literally jumping the Sharknado. Like, it's literally going too many levels of ironic meta hipster bullshit for me to ever engage in it ever. Like, I just can't deal with that.
My recommendation is to, if I know that you've passed on it, you've put a big fat pass on The Room, but if you read Greg Sestero's book, The Disaster Artist, and then watch the film, that really informs how you watch this movie. Because I also don't like to watch things ironically. I like to, even when I watch a quote-unquote bad movie, I can't help but enjoy what I enjoy about it, and it's not ironic in any way. But with The Room, there's just so much drama that went into the making of that film, and then to read the story and then watch the movie, I found the whole process really fascinating. And it made me feel disgusted by everybody sitting around me who was making fun of this movie. Because the fact that anybody can put their heart and soul and money into something and make it and it be, teased is just sad,
Right,
so.
Exactly. And I think that also comes from one of the other things that I did when I sort of started the podcast and the website was get into films either by my friends up in Massachusetts, Charlie and Farley, who make things like Freaky Farley and Don't Let the River Beast Get You and Slingshot Cops and films like that, but also the films of Don Dola and Alien Factor and Fiend and things like that people have heard me talk about ad nauseum. But like I found real kind of passion and artistry and creativity and stuff like that in those movies. So I befriended some of the people in the film. So like I don't like anyone said that any movie you make, I don't care whether it's independent or whether it's big budget, will roughly take anywhere from 18 months to 2 years of your life to put together. And if you put 18 months and 2 years of your life into anything, I don't care about the finished result so much as like people shouldn't sit around and take the piss out of that unless they themselves have gone out and like spent 2 years making a movie, and then we can all judge them on the same level. Like it just kind of, I don't know. Anyway, but Ninja 3 is it's a fairly decent budgeted. It's the middle of Canon and Sho's run of ninja movies. It's very weird and wonderful that they decide at this stage to like mix genres and things, considering that once you then go on, 9 Deaths of a Ninja, which is the one that comes after this, is goofy as all hell, but it's still a fairly within the world of reality kind of film, more or less. I mean, it's mad, but it's fine. And then Pray for Death and Rage of Honor are far more kind of traditional action films. Like they don't go into this sort of world of the supernatural and weird mythologies and things like that. And in fact, Rage of Honor probably is my favorite of all the Sho Kosugi movies. But Ninja 3, yes, of course, there's things you laugh at, like the V8 drink sex scene is ridiculous, and the kind of glowing computer game thing that comes at her, and all that all that's a bit like mad. But it's in terms of a canon action movie in the mid-'80s, it's inventive as all hell. Like, there's mad, creative, weird... Like, you want to be a fly on the wall of the writer's room where they sat around and go, and then this happens, But
the thing is, the whole, like, laser sequence with the console looked cool. I mean, even if it didn't make any sense, it just was beautiful to look at.
And the greatest moment when the Japanese poltergeist is trashing her apartment, and she decides the best way to fight it off or to ignore it is to put aerobics music on the hi-fi and start dancing to it, only for her mystical sword to come floating out of the closet and cut her hi-fi in two. I like to think of like the grumpy old Japanese ninja being like, I don't like modern music, and like slashing her hi-fi. So that kind of stuff is like fun and whatever. But it still took someone writing that and then Furstenberg getting on set and filming that. Like it. And to me, I'm laughing almost with it than I am laughing at it. And I'm also kind of amazed. I love the name of that podcast, How Did This Get Made? Not so much every podcast they do, but I love the name of it because it always conjures up, like, when you watch a film like Ninja 3, you go, how did this get made? Like, who thought this stuff up? Like, I kind of want to meet them and hang with them,
Yeah.
Well, they were watching a lot of MTV, and they just put everything that they thought was popular with the kids today.
Right.
Well, I want that apartment. I thought that apartment was flipping cool.
Right, and at the beginning, I don't know why it is, but at the beginning you kind of feel like that's her roommate, but it's not her roommate at all. They're just waiting to go to aerobics because she never shows up again in the rest of the movie. The woman who's like,
my goodness, and I was going to go my whole life thinking that was her roommate.
Right?
Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I guess you're right. She was just stopping by. I guess they carpool.
I mean, at no point at no point does Lucinda Dickey, when she's pouring V8 all over her and straddling her policeman friend, does she say, "Oh, we should go in the bedroom because my roommate might show up"? Yeah,
no, you make an excellent point.
We have just lost Brad. Have we gained Brad?
I'm back.
You're back.
He's back.
Excellent.
We can't have a Skype conversation without Brad leaving for a second. Technology confuses us. If we don't have Darren, the disco dork, on, the Gullicksons are going to fuck up the technology part. Is there swearing on this podcast?
You can fucking say whatever the cunting thing you want. You're absolutely able to say
terrific.
whatever you want.
I can't believe I've gone this long.
I'm British, and we embrace the swear words. We love the swear words.
Oh, I forget.
But starring Lucinda Dickey, who of course comes from the cult film Breakin', which is the same year as this movie, and also auditioned for the movie Grease 2, and won, which is my favorite Grease movie.
Really?
Yes, if anyone has heard my musical sequels episode, you'll know my love for Grease 2, my unironic love for Grease 2.
I was not allowed to watch Grease 2. I was weirdly allowed to watch Grease 1, but not Grease 2.
Really? I mean, Grease...
I had to sneak it.
Okay. Grease 2 is highly sexual, I think, compared to Grease 1. Because I feel like there's something... Not that Travolta and Olivia Newton-John in their prime are not attractive human beings, but they're attractive in a sort of asexual, kind of unnatural way, whereas Michelle Pfeiffer oozes sexuality from every single pore. As does, and I'm going to forget her name now, but I'm actually a much bigger fan of Maureen Teefy in Grease 2. I'm a big fan of the curly-haired brunette Maureen Teefy, who needs to do it for her country. She is... she as well just oozes nerdy sex appeal. I think she has nerdy sex appeal, which I like about that. Anyway, I went off on a weird tangent. But Lucinda Dickey, she's a dancer originally, right? That's where she kind of comes into the mix.
I don't like on the IMDb. It says that she was an instructor, an aerobics instructor, but I was under the impression that she was an enthusiast and not an instructor. Because she was going to class, but she didn't teach the class. I thought that her main gig was doing climbing telephone poles, climbing poles.
Her main gig is being a telephone construction operator, whatever you call them, fixer of telephone wires or cleaner of telephone wires. I don't know what they do. Because I don't understand technology either. But she was definitely leading the aerobics thing because she was up front and the policeman, Billy, was in the crowd. The only thing is, yet again, this movie doesn't explain how he knows where she teaches aerobics. Other than
because he's a cop. He's got a sixth sense. He follows people. He's got training. Right. He's no ninja. He knows how to find people.
Yeah, he's like, where are all the tight butt aerobic women at? That's what he goes to find.
I was creeped out that he got her number.
Right? He is kind of this mad, furry-chested, curly-haired Italian cop in the middle of LA being very forceful and creepy. And they don't really have much chemistry together, so it's kind of odd.
Not until the V8. That's where... Well, that was the missing ingredient in their love.
Once you add a potent combination of blended vegetable and fruit juice into the proceedings, I think anyone becomes weak at the knees. I don't know.
Had 9.5 weeks out before this? Or was that after Ninja?
9.5 weeks.
It came 9.5 weeks came out in 86, so this is before 9.5 weeks. So this started the food sex trend.
It does, definitely. Lucinda Dickey has a lot to answer for, especially for people who find the combination of food and sex troubling. But yeah, so as Lisa rightly said in the thing, she is possessed by the power of the ninja, and she is brought in for questioning by the police, right at the beginning of the film, when all the police have been killed, because she might be a witness to who the ninja guy is, right? Is that how she gets into the police force?
Well, no, she found the body.
Right.
So I guess, she was the one who, informed the cops. There were a bunch of dead cops there, so why would she need to tell them where the body was?
I have no idea. And there was also a whole bunch of cops that obviously witnessed the carnage and everything, because then she spends the rest of the movie possessed by the ninja bumping them off. So there was plenty of like cop witnesses there as well. I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to pull her in because she was a large-haired, attractive aerobic 80s type woman. I have no idea.
Well, he had disappeared, right? Because remember, they had him surrounded and full of holes, and then he disappeared, and then he was just like under the dirt somehow.
Yeah, he kind of magically...
That?
He magically buried himself in the sand in split seconds. Yeah.
That's right. And so that's how he got away, Groundhog style.
Yeah.
And then I guess we're going home. And so whatever remaining cops just left, and then he walked away to die off in the woods to be found by Lucinda.
If we go back to the beginning of the movie, the action sequence on the golf course and the ensuing action sequence with the police guys, that's like some really well-staged, good, fun 80s ninja action. I applaud that opening sequence. And there is a lot of death in it, much like we talked about with the bullet train sequence. There is mass carnage at the beginning of this film. Like, it pulls no punches when it opens, right?
They must have, like, ninja numbers of cops. Because, he goes through a mess of cops.
He does. And I also, like...
And honestly...
Where were those cops? Like, when the cops called back up, were there really that many cops near that golf course that could just show up in that quick speed of time? I don't know.
That's amazing.
They're at the donut shop next door. The film never quite reaches the level of insanity from an action standpoint after the golf course chase. The climax has some special treats awaiting us, but I found the film kicked off with this amazing sequence where he's like climbing up trees and taking down helicopters and riding the hoods of police cars and karate kicking motorcycle chips, and the film it goes off into this possession story, and it is bonkers and weird unto itself and totally watchable. But from an action point of view, it never really meets the power of the opening again.
No, because the rest of the action beats in the film are either her assassinating the cops who are left over, avenging the death of the evil ninja, or they are action sequences in the sense of, or rather set pieces, rather, in the sense of her possession. So you have the sequence where Billy takes her to James Hong, and she gets strapped up and kind of goes all Linda Blair on their asses for a sequence. And she has, like, Lucinda Dickey has like a Linda Blair-esque quality to her. Like, I feel almost like Blair should have played this, almost. And not that I'm not a fan of Dickey, but like I feel like Blair could have equally been successful in this role. And so there's that sequence, and then there's the sequence we mentioned in her apartment. Well, there's two sequences in her apartment. One where the computer game console comes alive and lasers her face, and the other one where her apartment becomes possessed by the spirit of the evil ninja, and all her possessions get trashed, and she almost gets sucked into a closet vortex. And what's fascinating about that is when they then go back to her apartment later on, her apartment is back to normal. Like, at no point did anyone tidy up, but all her possessions are now back to normal, whereas they were, like, royally trashed the night before. So that's interesting continuity. But no, I mean, you're right in saying that, Brad. Like, really, it's that. Then Sho Kosugi's attack on the hospital to get the... to examine the corpse. So you have like a little bit of action there where he flips some stuntmen into dumpsters and Three Stooges-esque knocks two guys' heads together. And then you have the final fight between Kosugi and the evil ninja. But sort of... And then I suppose you have her assassinations, but none of those are really that epic. There's that little chase after she bumps two policemen off at a funeral. But even that doesn't go to the heights of the first chase. So no, you're definitely right. Like, the action takes a back seat to all the madness in the middle of the movie. Not that it doesn't go quickly, and not that it's not fun to watch, like you said. But you're right. It's not a It's not a wall-to-wall wham-bam-a-thon.
Right. No bullet trains in this movie.
No bullet trains in South California, unfortunately. In fact, they've still been debating about a high-speed train link between Vegas and LA for like 20 years, and they've been debating a high-speed rail link between San Francisco and LA for even longer. So, yeah, I don't see them being any bullet trains anytime soon. But yeah, it's a completely bizarre movie that I feel like forget the ironic nature of it. Like it's a movie that anyone who's even remotely interested in the canon oeuvre, as it were, should watch. It's a movie that could only have been made in the 80s. It's a movie that I think almost successfully blends the three genres. Like, successfully in the sense that you, like, go with it. At no point are you like, well, hang on a second, why? Like, hang on a second, this doesn't quite fit. Because it all sort of fits. Don't you think?
I agree. I like the aesthetic of the movie. I like the way that the movie looks. And I think that was probably the main focus when putting this film together. There was a lot of styling put into how the ninja, blended into the background. The way her apartment was like the coolest 80s apartment a chick could ever want. The fact that all of her friends were in aerobics gear full time.
Right.
The fact that her hair was feathered perfectly all of the time. All of that was very important and all looked, to me, really fun and interesting. My other favorite thing about the film, or one of my favorite things about the film, were 80s American cop faces. Like those extras that you hire as cops, or like those bit part actors that you hire as cops, they need to look like movie cops. You know what I mean? Like when you look at them, you're like, oh, you look like a movie cop. And every single one of them, because throughout the movie, whenever Lucinda is possessed by the power of the ninja, she sees the flashback of the evil ninja's death at the hands of these shotgun-wielding cops at the beginning. And we like zoom into their face, and music and all the rest of it happens. They all have tremendous, like there's the black cop with the big cigar who's got a shotgun, who's like, blah, blah, blah. And then there's like the little older wizened cop who's got like the big glasses on and the thing. And then you've got like, just all of them look like perfect cops. Like I was really enjoying that. I remember when I first came to America, the first time I ever landed at JFK Airport, and as I was coming down into the customs area of JFK over the tannoy, I heard something like, could Officer Rabinowitz please, go to gate whatever? And I'm like, Officer Rabinowitz. Like, that just sounds like American cop to me. And I just thought, that's perfect. That's it. That's exactly. So it pleased me no end. These cops looked like cops. I liked the cop that was like Billy's partner, the first cop to go.
Right.
Who was sharing the car with Billy. He was clearly like an older cop. He had like kind of curly gray hair. He was killed in his own home, tragically. I would have loved to watch the Billy that guy show, like a TJ Hooker style
right.
show with him. I was disappointed that Billy was not more hurt by losing his partner. He should have been fairly traumatized. And he didn't even dress up for his funeral. He showed him in like jeans and like a button-up plaid shirt. I'm like, dude, get your shit together. I know you've got a new girlfriend, but that was your partner.
Yeah, and Billy wasn't really affected by anything.
Put on a slack.
Like,
yeah, he wasn't.
Like when she said, I'm having blackouts and all this sort of stuff, he was just like, oh, I'll take you to my Asian friend who knows all about ninjas and blackouts. Like, he was just, there was, at no point was he like, wait a minute, this woman is psycho. I'm going as far away from her as possible. He was just like, listen, whatever I need to do to get more of that V8 lovin', like, I will take you to whatever back alley, Asian exorcist that I can find. Played by James Hong, which was wonderful. But James Hong, who clearly had a huge makeup wart put on his face, and I wondered,
what was that about?
I don't know. Did James Hong sit down in the makeup trailer and was like, listen, I need to distinguish myself from the other Asian stereotypes I've played, so please give me a massive wart on my cheek. Was that his decision? I like to think Hong had a hand in that. And it also takes us back, of course, Brad, because the first Philly Comic-Con you and I were at, right. James Hong was there, right? Didn't I interview James Hong in front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did.
Look at that.
That was like the coolest thing I'd ever experienced up until that moment in my life.
Since then, of course, you've experienced way cooler things. But yeah, that was pretty damn cool. So, Brad, what were some of your favorite scenes in Ninja 3: The Domination?
Well, when she first kills Billy's partner, even though I knew it was going to be a possession story, I didn't know she would go full on evil cop killer. And when she killed his partner and then proceeded to assassinate the police department, I was genuinely surprised and concerned until Sho could show up with his eye patch.
A very cool eye patch, of course. A very badass eye patch that Sho is wearing in this movie. And we'll talk a little bit about Sho in a minute. But you're right. It's the one thing this movie doesn't bother to have at any point is sort of dramatic or emotional scenes, because there are plenty of areas where she could freak out way more about some of the things that are happening to her while she's being blacked out, and she doesn't really. I mean, she seems distressed by them, but not to the extent that she could do. Billy seems, as I said, completely unfazed by any of it. He just he's just like, listen, I got a hot aerobics chick here, and I got to figure out a way to keep her. No one in the police force either is really questioning the fact that they seem to be dealing with ninja deaths. There's some talk about the Japanese mafia, but there really isn't. At no point is anyone kind of bothered by that. They're just like, another day in Los Angeles. Brad, did you have any other moments in the film that particularly stand out for you?
Well, the assassination in the hot tub when she has the ring on.
Oh yes, I've forgotten all about that.
She shows up. Yeah, she shows up and he's already macking on two chicks in the hot tub, but they're no match for her beauty. So he immediately ignores the two women he's already with and starts making out with her in the hot tub. But then those two girls just stay in the hot tub with him and bicker a little bit until he is murdered.
But they maybe have the most honest reaction to her than anyone has in the movie, because they at one point go, what kind of place is this? Which I think is probably the most honest reaction to your would-be hot tub attendant, because she comes in with more towels or whatever, derobing and walking into the hot tub to start stealing your fat, hairy cop man away from you and your friend. But it does sort of weirdly paint the Los Angeles police as this hotbed of sexual activity that all women are really looking to do is to climb into either bed, the couch, or a hot tub with one of these greasy Los Angeles donut chompers. I'm not quite sure that's accurate.
But I'm really, once Sho finally gets into the action and, he has the hospital action sequence. But once he finally connects with Lucinda Dickey, my interest in the film rekindles. I love that final battle at the temple, that giant matte painting in the mountains, and his final showdown with her, and then of course the spirit creature that escapes from her is really wonderful.
Oh yeah, everything that happens in this, Well, of course there's a mad Asian ninja temple in the Rocky Mountains above Southern California. Well, of course there is, even if it does look like a shoddy map painting. It's definitely there. And all the stuff that happens in there is absolutely fantastic. And I especially liked in that final fight sequence where the evil ninja possesses all the other like warrior monks, and then Sho has to like fight them all off, because I bet Sam at that point, the director, was like, well, we can't just have it a one-on-one battle for this whole final sequence. Let's have him possess these like 6 or 7 people so they can kind of do a one-on-one, they can kind of do a group attack on Sho and he can fend them off. So, Lisa, as we know, you've reviewed for the website Savage Dog, starring our other ninja star of the podcast this month, Scott Adkins. Mm-hmm. And obviously, a lot of the sort of modern action and modern martial arts tends to take place with these sort of very muscular, balletic men with their shirts off, fighting and doing incredible moves and crazy kicks and all the rest of it. When you go back to the 80s, all you needed, if you were Sho Kosugi and an action star, was a slightly baggy black turtleneck and a pair of black slacks. What do you feel about the martial arts prowess of Mr. Kosugi?
I thought it was beautiful. I think every movie could use a little more shirtless Scott Adkins, even just in the corner doing a dance. I don't mind. He looks great. I thought that the final fight sequence was really fun, and I liked the integration of the believable action with the demonic moves of the Black Ninja, particularly him like screwdrivering into the ground. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, but it was sort of super weird. Like, she runs up to him and stabs him, and you initially think, oh, does this mean she's now a ninja? Like, does this mean she can kill ninjas because she's now a ninja?
Right.
Like, that was kind
I
of
thought that too.
The implication of it.
I think it was because it was just weird that they were both just standing there. Like once the fighting started, Billy and Christy just kind of stood and watched, like, just kind of lightly holding each other like they were watching the fireworks on the 4th of July.
Right. Well, I mean, and like Sho Kosugi's moves are definitely some fireworks of their very own, but I know exactly what you mean. And it's also...
They have the confidence, like, he'll take care of this. This is fine.
Right. And it's also sort of funny in comparison with The Hunted, and it's weird that The Hunted and Ninja 3 would have so many comparisons, but the fact that actually the final standoff is not Lucinda Dickey, like, being the protagonist, but actually Sho Kosugi being the protagonist and the evil ninja from the first act being the antagonist, and it being this fight to the death of the ages. You feel like through that, like you said, there's like this kind of nod in the flashback scene that maybe this battle between Sho and this other guy have been going on and on. So like maybe there's this like long rifting rivalry between the two of them. And it was kind of odd that at that point, instead of Lucinda getting a moment, because you think, oh, she's going to have a moment. You think she's going to stab him, and it's going to turn out that like she is now a ninja, and even though she's not a bad ninja anymore, she's going to have this power and da-da-da-da-da. And it's not at all. He drills into the earth, he creates a crevasse, and then they start fighting in the crevasse again. So it's sort of odd that, again, much like Lambert, she is not really the hero of the movie in quite the way that Sho becomes.
At least, like, Lambert, he had his, like, New York businessman fisticuffs that he could fall back on. I wish he had a moment to fall back on her aerobics, like somehow she can, like, kickbox him or
right.
dance on his face or something.
Because if Jim Carter has taught us anything, that aerobics and martial arts are basically the same thing. And,
exactly.
Yeah, she should have at least been able to have done some, like, mad, like what I call the Shatner kick, which is the two-footed kick into the chest and then fall down on the ground. Like, it's only good for one move, but it's pretty good. Like, for that one move, it does incapacitate people pretty damn quickly. But that is like Shatner, that and the karate chop. I mean, Brad, you tell me if he has any others, but that to me is like the quintessential Shatner moves.
Those are the moves.
Those are the moves.
Yeah, well, is the Black Ninja dead at the end of this movie?
Yes, I think doesn't Sho like kill him, and then Sho says like it's all good, like we're done, it's fine.
Well, yeah, but like so she puts the blade in his chest, the katana, and then is that when he does the corkscrew into the ground and creates like an earthquake?
Yeah,
and he disappears.
Yeah,
the ground opens up. He falls down. Sho falls down. But then he grabs at his leg, and then Sho takes that little blade and then jams it into his skull.
Yeah, right into his head.
And then he falls down. But then he like evaporates.
Yeah, the corpse vanishes.
Well, because because the corpse is only essentially Sho is fighting a zombie at the end of the movie because the corpse is dead, and it was only once the spirit of the evil ninja repossessed the body. That he could fight it, so I guess like the body evaporated. No, that doesn't make any sense. No, you're right. It doesn't make any sense.
It's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You can't leave a bunch of vampire corpses lying around. So what happens? They dust. So he just kind of dusted, and then there's no cleanup, which is convenient. It
is very convenient that it's not leaking embalming fluid or anything. That's pretty good. But it's also he just evaporates. Like that's exactly what happens. And but you're right, Brad. Does that mean that nearby there's like a scorpion or a lizard or something in the desert that gets possessed by the evil ninja? Like,
is this a prequel to Rango? Is he not Rango? No.
Yeah, does he become an annoyingly Hawaiian shirt wearing Johnny Depp voiced lizard? Is that what happens in the sequel of this movie?
I hope so.
Who knows? But okay, so we're coming up to the 2-hour mark, so let's go around for our final appreciation of Ninja 3: The Domination. I'm just going to say very quickly, if it has Shok Kosugi in it, watch it. I think that all his movies are worth watching. They're all good fun. They're all very different. They all have very different styles. Nine Deaths of the Ninja plays out like a Mel Brooks movie in parts, so they're all very different. But Ninja 3: The Domination has a special place in my heart just because it combines the wonder of the 80s, the madness that is aerobics, the insanity that is cops, and the gloriousness that is ninjas, all in one beautiful place. And who can't have more than that in their life? And also, like I said at the beginning, it's just one of those inventive, creative, varied movies that could only be made in the 80s and that we all too sadly lack, I think. Because I think that nowadays, even the bad movies are not... they're not bad because someone tried something and failed, like tried something interesting and tried something varied and tried something weird and failed. They tend to just be bad because someone was trying something generic and didn't even succeed with generic to some extent. And that's a generalization, but I just mean we don't tend to get the weird. And then if we get a weird and wonderful movie these days, it's a movie that's made by someone who goes, oh, look what a weird and wonderful movie I'm making. It's sort of made knowingly with the history of cinema behind it going, well, we used to make weird and wonderful. This doesn't feel like a knowingly weird and wonderful movie. This feels like a movie made by committee that happened to somehow shamble its way out of the desert and actually sort of succeed in being entertaining. Like it's more interesting in that way. Yes, it comes from a very corporate place, like you said, like MTV and what's popular now. And well, dance movies are popular, and ninja movies are popular, and ghost movies or possession movies or whatever. So let's throw it all in together and see what we can do. But it kind of creates its own entity and creates its own like glorious madness. And for that reason, I think it's worth seeing. I certainly wouldn't like praise it as a great martial arts movie or give it any credit as a sort of quote unquote good movie, as people tend to categorize it. But I find it endlessly entertaining and enjoyable, and therefore I think on a Sunday afternoon you could do a lot worse than put this on. Lisa, do you want to give us your rundown?
Yeah, I found this movie really charming. I'm glad that I have watched it. I think that the fact that this is a movie from the 80s to serve people of the 80s with little to no thought about the kind of legacy this movie would have. It was serving a specific time with a specific set of, with a specific market. And looking at it in retrospect, it just ends up being this kind of bizarre time capsule, which is just really, really fun to watch. And I recommend watching it on YouTube in 16 parts, because having the parts count down with 3-second intervals in between just really gives you perspective on where you are in the film. You're like, I'm on part 9 of 16. I'm over halfway done.
It adds an element to it.
I think so. And I love the clothes. I love her hair. I love the eye makeup of both the Black Ninja, and then when she becomes a ninja, she gets her own smoky eye version of his eyeliner that I'm going to be trying in the mirror, and I know you are too. So I recommend this movie. It's fun.
I wear it as often as I can, and I'm always surprised. You see obviously a lot of anime characters and things portrayed at Comic-Cons and festivals and things. Not enough ninjas. Let's get more ninjas back into... and I don't mean Deadpool, who tries to dress like a ninja. I mean legitimate ninjas. Let's get ninja cosplay back. All you need is a bedsheet and a plastic sword. But it would be good to see more of those walking the halls of Comic-Con. Brad, what about yourself, sir? Round this up for us. Give us your final conclusion.
Well, I'd echo all your sentiments. As a child of the 80s, this is an era that I still love to visit. And, when you do that, you generally watch things like, The Last Starfighter or The Goonies, and Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Of course, on everyone's Christmas list.
Yeah.
I would argue that Ninja 3 is now an essential film when I want to travel back to that decade, because it really is a kitchen sink of all of our 80s obsessions in one movie, including James Hong.
Right.
It's a unique, bizarre, bonkers film that absolutely represents that decade.
Yeah. And it it might not have the filmmaking mastery behind it of something as glorious as Big Trouble in Little China, but it does make about as much sense. I mean, in terms of its storytelling. I would definitely suggest people watch it. So my last question to you guys is then, are you now going to go forth and watch more Sho Kosugi movies?
Sure.
I would hope so.
I definitely want to get Lisa to see Revenge of the Ninja and Enter the Ninja. And I need to see Rage of Honor again. I know Arrow Video has put out a new edition, and I'd like to take a look at that. And Pray for Death. I think they're both new Arrow discs here in the States.
They are, yeah. Rage of Honor and Pray for Death are two new discs out. And I love them both. Pray for Death is a bit more of a standard revenge actioner, whereas Rage of Honor, if all the action you were missing in this movie, Brad, is put into Rage of Honor. Rage of Honor is like a from start to finish, balls to the wall, mad, traveling the globe action-orama movie. That's what I love about Rage of Honor. If it's the,
I need it.
Yeah, that's definitely the one. And if you're looking for one that is slightly mad and comedic, and also features Shok Kosugi fighting three ninja hobo dwarfs, then check out 9 Deaths of a Ninja. Because that is tremendous. It also features a Dr. Strangelove style villain, and definitely worth watching. So I would definitely urge people to do that.
I also want to get Lisa to check out the American Ninja films. I've been trying all month long to get her to sit down and tackle those movies. And I don't think she has any more excuses. There's only a few days left of NinjaVember.
I agree, Lisa, and you definitely need to see American Ninja 1 and 2. I think they're really the quintessential viewing. 3, and doesn't he come back for 5? Am I right in that, or am I wrong in that?
He does, yeah.
So 3 and 5 are probably sort of way down the list, but 1 and 2, and I would say not just for Dudikoff, but Steve James. One of my favorite actors who sadly died way too young, who appears in some really great grindhousey action films. Steve James was pretty damn groovy and also ripped and muscly and awesome and kick-ass. Like, Steve James is one of my favorite. He crops up in so many of these movies. So definitely check out American Ninja 1 and 2. I can't recommend them highly enough. American Ninja for 2 primary scenes. One is the brightly colored ninja training camp, which is one of my favorite sequences. Because it literally makes no sense, but in the best possible way. And again, we get to see some of those beblazered evil capitalists in that sequence. And also the very end with the raid on the ninja camp in a tank, which is just... It's just wondrous. So, yeah, you need to check those out. And if you have not come under the thrall of the Dudikoff, Lisa, my goodness, you do not know what's waiting for you.
I anticipate NinjaVember becoming a regular tradition in the Gullickson household. I will drink pumpkin spice things and watch ninja movies, and I will love them. I have the rest of my life to watch them, right?
Of course. I can't claim that the After Movie Diner endorses anything with pumpkin in it, but if that's your taste, that's fine. Anything
from a gourd. I'm a fan of the gourd.
Why not? I'm a fan of the gourd as well, especially their amusing and phallic shapes. We had one
a butternut situation. Yum.
Indeed. Well, I'm a fan of the waxed turnip and or a rutabaga. That is one of my favorite things to eat and say.
I enjoy a turnip. They don't come up nearly enough. Like they're not like a go-to root vegetable.
No.
Like, I eat more radishes than I eat turnips, and radishes are gross.
Right. The turnips are more seasonal, and I feel like they're only really coming into the fore now. I feel like people are really embracing the rutabaga in a way that they weren't previously. And I endorse that more than I endorse the pumpkin spicing of things that otherwise would not normally be spiced with that bizarre fruit. However, last thing that I want to say before I bid you adieu, Tyler Barger is the only listener that we got a question from.
Thank you, Tyler.
I'm very upset about that. We wanted more questions, but it's all good. I'm sure we've rambled enough to answer most of the ones the listeners had anyway. But he says, nice double feature. Here's my question, just to end. And we've kind of covered this, but we'll go around the table very quickly. What are your favorite Lambert and Sho Kosugi movies? Very quickly, my favorite Lambert movie is now The Hunted, hands down. My favorite Sho Kosugi movie, as I've said, is Rage of Honor. Brad, Lambert and Kosugi, quickly.
I would say that The Hunted is my favorite Lambert, but I love The Highlander. It doesn't quite live up like it did in my youth, but I love that. And then Shok Kosugi, I would say Enter the Ninja would be my favorite one. But do I like it because of Sho Kosugi, or do I like it more because of Franco Nero? It's probably because of Franco Nero.
Right. I always think that Sho Kosugi looks like an accountant or a businessman wearing a polo neck, attempting. Certainly in his earlier films. Like, I'm not. Later on, he certainly sort of grows into the part of the ninja, but I'm never fully convinced by his Beatle bowl cut hair. I'm not. It never fully sells it to me.
But I promise to check out the other, to go back and watch Pray for Death and Rage of Honor.
Rage of Honor. Do it, because they are both excellent films. I can't speak highly enough of them. And Lisa, for yourself.
Well, I'll start with Sho Kosugi, considering that Ninja 3, The Domination, is the only Sho Kosugi film I've seen. So I think it would hurt his feelings for me to say that it's my fave. My number one.
He gets to wear that badass eye patch. He probably loved it.
It looks great. I think, maybe an upgrade. I guess the other choice would be some kind of, I don't know. Anyway. And then with Lambert, I really enjoyed The Hunted. I thought it was really entertaining, and I thought I liked his underplayed role. I'm also a fan of Highlander. So, but yeah.
Well, that is fantastic, and I cannot thank you both enough for your infectious enthusiasm, your deep worldly knowledge, and just your support, friendship, fandom, all the good stuff towards both the Diner and back in at the ItMod podcast. So thanks ever so much for being guests on the show, Brad and Lisa, and I do hope we can do this again. Maybe have another double bill of Bill Shatner films at some point. We always threatened a sequel to that, and we never did it. I think it's because we started with two of the greatest ones. We did Impulse already, didn't we? Didn't we do Impulse already?
Yeah, we did do it.
We did Impulse.
We can do it again.
And Devil's Reign, which are two of the greatest non-Star Trek Shatner films, I think. Right?
Yeah. I agree. We could do Horror at 37,000 Feet.
Yes.
Which has some stuff in there for us, and maybe the pilot of Barbary Coast.
Right. That would be fantastic. There's also that Death on a Coastliner or whatever. Isn't he in that as well?
Oof. He is really good in that, but it's not the most entertaining movie.
Not the most entertaining. There was a moment that when Brad and I were looking at those films of Shatner's that I did delve deep into the Shat's filmography for a time. I don't think I've ever fully recovered, but we'll definitely have to get back on that. But again, guys, thanks so much, and please now pimp your stuff and all the places people can find you, listen to you, read you, and embrace you.
I'll go first. I am.
All right, go.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm at Sidewalk Siren on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, and you can read my writings on aftermoviediner.com.
And I am at Mouth Dork on all the social medias. And I just did an interview with Haley Joel Osment that should be coming up on Film School Rejects in the next couple of days after this post. So check that interview out.
You have been interviewing all the big hitters, Brad. You really have. You've been doing lots of great stuff over there at Film School Rejects. I'm very, I'm both in awe, happy, and of course deeply jealous.
Well, I am also those things for myself.
No, it couldn't happen to a better person.
And you can listen to our podcast along with the Disco Dork, Darren Smith, and the Turtle Dork, Brian Young. And it's the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast, and you can find it on Twitter at IdModcast.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for spending 2 hours and 15 minutes with me this evening. It has been a sheer joy. I hope that now you can sleep soundly, knowing in the knowledge that these two movies have been well and truly polished off. Thanks so much, and come back on the show anytime.
Thanks so much, John.
Thanks, John.
All the best, guys. Have a good holiday season.
You too.
All right. Bye now. NinjaVember. Ninja Deadly
Ninja, 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 ninja. Almighty Ninja. After Movie Diner presents NinjaVember.